What the fork?
Hi, Eleanor. Hi, Michael. We were just heading off for a picnic.
Oh, we were actually just going to go check in on your new student, Brent.
Oh, I'm not sure that Brent's in it for the long haul. He came to one session, and then he said he got a B+ in moral values at Princeton, and so maybe he should be the professor. Then he asked me if I knew that he went to Princeton. I said I did. And then he said he went to Princeton, and he left. What are you going to do?
Well, just for argument's sake, what would Kant say about your duty to help your fellow human beings?
Well, honestly, when the weather is this perfect, I think that Kant would say, who's up for some frisbee golf? Guys, you've got to hear this joke I made about Kant.
Never seen Chidi like that. He was chillaxing, which is a word I just invented, combining Chidi and relaxing.
So how's your New Year's resolution going another week into 2024, Steven? How are you sleeping? You said you were going to sleep better.
Most of the nights that I worked the next day, I was in bed at a semi-decent hour. And every night I made myself go to bed before I wanted to.
Uh-huh. How early?
Let's see. The earliest was actually Saturday night. I was in bed by like 12:10.
That's great.
The other nights, it was more so like maybe the earliest was probably 2.
That's
latest was like 3:30.
But you sleep until like 10?
Yeah, 10-ish, 9 or 10.
I'm doing math. So you got like 7 hours, right?
Yeah, some of the nights.
Yeah,
Last
okay,
night, though, was not great. For some reason, I think because I slept in yesterday, then I was up till like 5:15 last night. So
I haven't bit my nails.
Hey, that's good.
My nails are growing. I've done kind of like, I don't know, I almost like act like I'm doing it, or kind of like
you
maybe...
gotta bite your knuckles instead.
Yeah, I'm not doing it bad. I've been having to do little things. I'm trying to come up with a new habit.
Why don't you just start smoking cigarettes all the time, Zach? That'll keep you from biting your nails.
Lil got me this fidget thing, and I was kind of like, that's stupid. But then I was like, hee, fun. Turn the thing, then the
fidget things are very
maybe
fun.
That'll help. Yeah. Well, it's another week into 2024, everybody. I hope your New Year's resolutions are doing well. I hope it's 14 days or so, maybe a little longer into the year when you're hearing this. I hope you've at least made it these 16 days. Can we do that at least? Have you gone to McDonald's yet? Have you killed another prostitute on the side of the road? Welcome to Into the Time Knife, everybody.
With the bottle in your left hand.
Thank you for joining us for another week discussing the moral complexities of The Good Place here on Into the Time Knife. Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Sandy Clam Pruitt.
Nice. I'm Steven, Zach's sandy little pearl tucked deep inside him. Come find me.
I love how Michael just says oyster and then moves on to what he needed to say. Welcome to another week of the podcast. I'm so glad you've joined us. It's been so nice to get back into the weekly swing of getting this show out and being, I don't know, I can't really say across from you because I'm like next to you, but also like looking at you as if we're across from each other. But to spend this time across from you, I always imagine that it's that when we record the podcast, it's kind of like the end of The Dark Knight Rises, where Christian Bale is at like a trendy French cafe and sees Michael Caine across the way, who's somehow still alive, and they give each other a wink. That's how it feels every time you and I do a podcast together.
I have a question. Now, after that wink, I don't think there's any argument the two of them...
Do they plow? Absolutely.
Yeah. But who tops in that situation? Because I'm thinking... Okay, now
Michael
Alfred's
Caine's
old school.
like, I can't do it anymore, Master Wayne.
Master Wayne.
Just give it to me. Make it quick.
Okay, that answers that question.
No, I don't think that part of the movie, I don't know if this is a hot take or if I just thought it was when I was 12 when that movie came out. I don't think the wink at the end happens. I think Christian Bale dies and Alfred that's like his headcanon, like what he hopes to one day see. I don't think Alfred makes it to You don't think so? Watch it again. Watch The Dark Knight Rises tonight.
You think I haven't seen that trilogy so many fucking times, Zach? You think I haven't written long blog posts about how Heath Ledger's performance as Joker inspired who I am as a person?
I was really into The Dark Knight Rises because I was a little too young to be super into the Dark Knight. Not in age, because like my friends were. Just I wasn't there yet. I was into that. I wasn't into that kind of thing yet. But Dark Knight Rises, I was super into.
I liked it.
No, I liked it too. That was the first movie I saw in the theater like 3 times.
Nice.
Anyway, into the time knife, everyone. We're back. We're here to talk about another episode of The Good Place, to spend a little time with our friends. And of course, we couldn't do this show without some very special friends of the podcast, our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/can't-disappoint-podcast. Those people are Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, Lil S. Haker, and Autumn Marsh.
I have one more shout out today, Zach.
Okay.
My brother starts college classes today.
I saw
He's
that.
moved in yesterday. Proud of him. Shout out to Ryan.
Shout out to Ryan. Congratulations and best of luck, for sure.
He does not listen to the podcast.
That's okay. College is not easy in any way.
No.
So congratulations and best of luck. He seems like a really smart dude with a good head on his shoulders. So maybe he'll do better than us.
I'm sure he will.
Well, I had a trauma this week. I'm going to talk about my trauma that I had happen this week.
Zach, don't
but no,
think
I was
going to
give you the I was going to give you the spotlight first.
Okay,
because
yeah.
When I say I had a trauma this week, fair listener, to my estimation, I don't know, I had one of the most traumatic things that I'm lucky to have had a pretty comfortable life. So I had one of the most traumatic things that's ever happened to me before. And as it's happening, I'm like, just get me on that mic, coach. Just throw me in a ring.
Just let me make
Steven.
it to Monday. That's all I need.
And look, I take over a conversation for an hour when I'm explaining the breakfast I had that morning. So I would like to give you the space to say anything you'd like to say before I do what I do.
Well, thank you, Zach. I want to
make it quick.
Let's see. I'm still finishing up some anime from last year, getting my top list together. It was a really good year for anime. I feel like anime fans always say this was the year of anime, but last year is a pretty good contender. There were some really good shows. I was looking at my list, and there's not a single show that I watched, and I'm up to almost like 20 now from last year. I haven't given anything less than a 7, and I've only given a couple of 7s. So that should speak to how just strong last year was for anime. A lot of 8s, a shit ton of 9s, and I don't give 9s to anime very lightly. So really good shows. Still finishing up a couple, but it's been really good. Haven't watched any movies this week. Watched some Grey's Anatomy. That show was really good, Zach. I was like, if I made a top 50, that show was at one time really good.
That show can be really good. It's just not really my cup o' tea.
You don't like those make you cry every week episodes.
It's not even that. I don't like those. I don't know. I have to really be involved in the main characters to care about like a crime of the week or medical case of the week.
On like 2 characters from the beginning, and because they're still in it, I'm really into it.
Okay. Well, I guess to relate that to movies, because Oscar nominations are coming up, I wish I could say the same, where I felt like coming off of my first year of watching everything that got nominated, that I could say that this was just like another stellar year, because I really thought last year was pretty stellar.
Last year had some top choices.
I have a lot to watch still, and once Oscar nominations come out in about another week after this podcast comes out, I will know what I still need to watch, but I don't think this year's been as strong as last year.
I think there I can think of that I saw 3 movies that I would say, well, 4 if I'm counting, which I should count. So I guess there were 4 movies that I saw that I thought were like a 9 or higher.
I mean, I saw some great movies. I saw a couple standouts, and I'll definitely be able to tell people these are a couple of movies I saw that I really loved this year, like Theater Camp, like the Dungeons and Dragons movie we were just discussing, movies that I saw and really enjoyed that not enough people are talking about. There are some of those this year. But like last year, man, I mean, fucking Everything Everywhere All at Once is one of my favorite movies of all time.
We weren't 100% sure that it was going to win Best Picture, and that should show how strong last year was.
Banshees of Inisherin was incredible. Tar was really great. A lot of really good movies last year. But anyway, yes, let's have a therapy session. I'll hope you'll allow me this.
Yeah, audience. My clock has now officially started.
Yes. How much is that an hour? A lot, right? You charge the same for therapy that you do for dancery?
Double, actually. Because
Double.
dancery, I get to
Jesus.
touch you. Here, I just have to listen to you without feeling you up.
Here you get touched. I get touched by you metaphorically.
Yeah.
When dance, like
Not
you
as
get
fun
real
for me.
handsy for how expensive and
Well,
professional
with
you are.
With you, Zach, not
that's
only
just
do
me.
I
Okay.
upcharge, but I touch just about everywhere.
Well, the story, dear listener, that I'm going to tell you, it happened a week ago. It was when we recorded our first podcast. I needed to work that day. I work a delivery job. I was in a rental car because my car was in the shop at this time. I was in a rental car, an unfamiliar car to me. I was out working for a few hours. And in this rental car at like 8 o'clock, 8:30 that night, I get fucking clipped by a deer in the middle of Indianapolis, Indiana. And Indiana is like a middle of nowhere state, but it was like a city. It was not where I would expect. And I've had deers clip my car before. I know to watch for it. And it was a place where I wasn't even clocking that a deer could maybe all of a sudden be in front of me.
Well, I want to ask you something really quick, Zach, not to kill the
Sure.
momentum of your story.
It's okay.
I don't know anyone that's met more deer with their vehicle than you have. What
Yeah.
did you do to them? What? Why are
Well,
they
here's
like
the problem.
throwing
Every
themselves in
deer
front of
that
your
I've
car?
hit, I've been very lucky that I've never gotten hurt and I've never had but minor damage done to a car. I've never killed or slaughtered a deer with my vehicle, so they have the chance to go tell their friends to watch out
And they're
for
like,
this
hey,
guy.
this fucking guy clipped me.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to tell you other
Zach
than
is the hunter from the beginning of Bambi. That's what it was.
I don't know what to tell you other than I'm pretty much always on the road working.
Sure.
And I'm sure
So you have a higher chance, I guess.
a higher chance. I'm sure there are probably other reasons why shit like this seems to keep happening to me. But honestly, with something like a deer, there's nothing you can do or not do when all of a sudden there's a deer in front of me. Like this rental car that it clipped, I didn't even feel the impact. I kind of thought, I knew it scraped, but it just missed not hitting me. And then I got out of the car and it's this rental car, so I'm nervous about that. And there's like a little crack in the bumper. I'm like, fuck, I don't pay for the extra insurance that's like $40 a day for a car. I do have my own insurance, but I don't know what covers, and I still kind of don't know, and I'm nervous about that, so I'm dealing with that. I call Lil, I'm all stressed out. This is not the traumatic event. It gets way worse than this, friends. I call Lil, I'm stressed out about that. I take some deep breaths. I think my insurance is going to cover it, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to work a little bit more, and then I'll go home. I'll be done for the night, and this day will be over. I'll return the rental car tomorrow, and it's done. It's done. Okay. So I get orders from a Meijer, and I'm shopping delivery for people. And I have two orders at the same time, and I shop for both of them. I deliver the first one to this apartment home, and as I'm leaving the apartment complex, I notice that in one of the little sections of housings, there's a police officer, like hanging out in their car, and I'm going towards exiting the apartment complex, and I notice that they're leaving where they were and that they're probably coming to check me out and follow me.
Yeah.
I'm going to the next person's delivery, and I'm always nervous. I don't know, even though I kind of know what to do if I get pulled over, I'm always nervous because I'm the type of person that may be caught with a small breed of pygmy that's illegal to house in the United States, a furry animal that you're not allowed to have as a
Zach's
pet.
really trying to do a
I'm always
Oompa
keeping mine
Loompa
on me.
thing. He's not making chocolate yet, but he wants to have the manpower just in case.
Is pygmy person? I thought it was an animal.
Pygmy's a person.
Really? I was thinking of like a little small rodent that I have as a pet that's illegal to keep in the States.
Pygmy mouse or something,
That's
that can
what
be
I
a
was
thing.
going for. It's a pygmy chinchilla, let's say. Illegal
Sure.
in the States, always in the car with me. So I'm nervous about what's going to happen if I get pulled over and a police officer says, man, does it smell like a specifically illegal in this state pygmy in your vehicle, right? So I'm getting pulled over. Well, no, I'm getting followed out of the apartment complex and I'm tensing up. I'm driving to someone else's apartment. But when I'm in a situation like this, the first thing I want to do is like go to a gas station or pull over out of something. They probably follow me for like a mile. They get pretty close to my car. They haven't pulled me over yet. I turn into a CVS parking lot and immediately they turn their lights on. And I'm like, are you ever in a stressful enough situation? Have you ever gotten the like where you taste metal?
Yeah, sure.
I get that when I get really anxious, and it's almost always when I pass a police car or when there's a
it's
police
your
car
magneto powers
driving behind
activating.
me. You
You're
like
about to
taste
come into your
blood
own
or
as a
like
mutant.
metal or like stress, just like in your throat. You can feel it. So this starts happening, and now that I'm talking about it, it's been a week, so I've calmed down quite a bit, but it's starting to come up again. So instantly the lights come on as I turn into the CVS, so I park, and I have my pygmy in the vehicle with me, so I stash the pygmy, the young man who I have in my car, I stash him next to me in the little side thing. And I'm expecting a traffic stop to have someone come up to me, tell me what I've done. But instantly, I hear the guy yelling. And so I roll the window down. I say, "What? I didn't hear what you said." They say, "Put both of your hands out of the car right now." Never had anything like this happen to me before. Have no idea why I've just been pulled over. I wasn't doing anything. So I put both of my hands out of the car. Then they tell me to take the keys out of the ignition and put them on the ceiling of the car. So I do. Then they tell me to get out of the car, and I do. Then they tell me to face away from them, take steps to the back, take steps to the left, get down on the ground. And then they're handcuffing me. Put your hands behind your back, and they're handcuffing me. And twice during this, I say, "Can you tell me why I'm being pulled over?" And they say, "We can't," or they say, "We'll tell you in a minute." Both times. So I'm getting handcuffed on the ground. Yeah. And this one police car quickly turned into, I am not exaggerating, something like 4 or 6 police cars.
Wow.
I'm surrounded by police cars and 10 officers around outside. So I'm handcuffed on the ground, have no idea what I've done just because of a traffic stop or something.
Yeah.
And I'm stressing out, and I'm scared. I'm horrified. I'm on the ground handcuffed without knowing why. That's a pretty scary position to be in. And after a while, someone finally says, your license plate came up as a stolen car. This is a stolen car. And I'm in a rental car, if you missed that opening part of the story. I'm in a rental car. And instantly I can say, I rented this car. This is where I rented it from. There's a piece of paper in the car that says my name, that says when this is due, which is tomorrow morning. And they're kind of not listening to me. They still start talking about the plate and looking up stuff. And there's a bunch of guys and they start pulling up shields on me. I hear one guy say to another, do you have your shield? This feels like a tense to them, hands on gun situation. While I'm just a scared dude on the ground trying to say my name is on a piece of paper that just explains this. So eventually they hear this. And I'm worried about my pygmy in the car.
Yeah.
One, they're not supposed to know he's in there. And two, he needs his mother's milk about every 15 minutes.
Yeah, he was hungry at this point.
So I say the paper's in the car. They say where in the car. And I'm genuinely not sure. It might be in the glove box. It might be in the passenger seat. I'm flustered. I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm trying to explain myself when I do something. This is a dumb thing to say, but I say, I don't know where in the car it is. If you walked over there with me, I could point it to you. I could show it to you. And they say, no, we're just going to look. And so at this point I say, okay, officer, then I want to let you know there is a small pygmy boy in the vehicle. I just feel like you should know. And they say, thank you for being compliant. Thank you for telling us. It happens all the time. We're used to this.
A lot of pygmies in this area.
We won't ask too many questions. And they go find the paper. And over here, these fucking police officers I'm traumatized on the ground still. Maybe they've started to stand me up. They had to take my wallet out of my back pocket. They patted me down and stuff. And they start laughing. The 10 guys or 8 guys over here start laughing and all right, well, let's get out of here, types laughing. And I'm okay. And the guy who handcuffed me that's been with me the whole time
is known to tell quite a few jokes.
He's funny. He is funny. That's why I keep him around. I like a good laugh. So they start laughing to themselves. The one guy who's been with me, he wasn't nice to me, but he wasn't mean or rough with me. He was just there, and I kind of stress talked to him, and he listened and said stuff to me. I hear him say, but while these people are over here laughing, he's yeah, I think we might have messed up.
Ooh.
And instantly, I don't know. Then I go from scared to oh, is this really happening? And still scared because of the pygmy that is in my vehicle. So he says, you're free to go. And he starts to take the handcuffs off of me, and all the cops start leaving. One cop comes up to me, and this pissed me off because I'm so scared and stressed. He's like, hey, you like Wayne's World, man? What? You look just like the guy from that show. I love that show, Wayne's World. You know Wayne's World? Yep, I do. I do know Wayne's World. So I'm free to go. I start to leave. And at this point, like, I see my pygmy. They've taken him out of the car and put him on top of the car next to the keys. And I'm thinking, are they just all about to, like, haul out of here? But, like, the, like, grumpy... I've left out so many details of the stress story, and it's still a long story. The, like, grumpy white guy cop who went to get the paper out of my car is like, well, actually, you're not free to go yet. Lean back against the car for a minute. Give me a minute. And he goes and talks to the other asshole cops for a second. And I'm leaning there. And he comes back to me. He's holding the pygmy at this point. He took it off of the ceiling of the car when he came to tell me to stay there for a moment. He says, well, you know, the pygmies like this, but I see you've got a couple forms of pygmy. It's still illegal here. I don't know where you got this young man. I don't care either. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take him back to the precinct and we're going to destroy him. We're going to put this pygmy man right in the incinerator.
Yeah,
does that sound fair? And because I'm terrified and thought that maybe I would still get in trouble for not having done anything wrong, I say, yeah, that sounds fair. They leave like as fast as they were all around me. And then I'm like just left in my car, like not hyperventilating, but like panic attacking.
Yeah.
In this CVS parking lot. And then I call Lil, I explain what happens. And then I still have to finish a Meijer delivery and take someone their stuff and then go home. And thus
were they like, what took
is my
so
story.
long?
They did. While I was sitting there, they said, what's going on? And because I was having a panic attack, I could have just said I had another order, but I did say, I'm sorry, this is awkward, but I got pulled over. Everything's okay, but I need a couple seconds to calm down. And they understood. And I think they ended up giving me a couple extra dollars.
Nice.
But that's my story. I had to get it off my chest.
Yeah.
Fuck the police is basically how I feel.
So, Zach, now that you're a cold, hard criminal and have done real hard time... how have you changed as a man?
You know, honestly, I am the belle of the ball in that joint.
That long, pretty hair, I'm sure, got you far.
The guards, the other inmates, whoever. I am everybody's girlfriend. That's why I'm still able to do the podcast, the pygmies in arm.
Yeah.
I don't know, that's my story. The moral of the story is that because I'm white, and look, I do think to an extent now more than I used to, I might get some form of profiled because I have long hair and I look alternative and I look like the type of guy who
look
carries
like Wayne's
pygmy.
World.
Yeah, I look like Wayne's World.
Yeah.
I do get that, but I'm very, very aware that I'm white and that I know what to say in these situations, kind of, even when I'm having a panic attack. And I know that because of who I am, I'm more than likely to get someone to listen to me when I'm saying what I'm saying and to understand that I'm anxious rather than, oh, you must be guilty because you're anxious, or, oh, hands on the ground, you're dead. You know, I'm very aware of that, but that didn't make it any less like scary and traumatizing. And I didn't say this. What ended up happening was the cops had 2 of the numbers switched on my plate and they didn't bother to double check before having me handcuffed on the ground. It's pretty fucked up. I'm not gonna, I don't want to and won't do anything about it, but it is the most traumatizing thing that has ever happened to me, even with the huge asterisk of I got away fine because of A, B, and C. It was still deeply scary, and they like got to chuckle and be like, oh, well, on to the next one.
It's messed up.
It wasn't until I was directly affected by a police officer that I thought, maybe all these people getting slaughtered in the streets by cops have something. Maybe they do have a point. I thought they were just being dramatic.
Well,
Don't
if they had
smash
just
up the
complied,
Walmart, you
Zach,
know?
they'd be fine.
I buy my Hanes from there. Don't smash up the Walmart. What's that got to do with it? Okay, that's it. That's my story. That's our pre-show talk. I don't really have anything else to say, but that it's felt a different type of good throughout the last week to get that story off of my chest. And I did kind of feel panicky for like 2 days after it happened, and I don't really anymore.
Well, are they going to listen to the podcast? You plugged the podcast, right?
Yeah, our sponsor today is, of course, the police department of Fishers, Indiana. A lot of hush money. It's not keeping me quiet, though. We'll take blood money. We just won't use it the way you'd think.
Exactly.
Well, Steven, with story time out of the way, why don't we talk about an episode of the final season of The Good Place?
You know, Zach, I don't know. I feel like I only will agree to this if it's going to be a really chill week.
I feel chill. I'm a lot more chill. God, do I need a chill week.
Yeah.
The first couple days, the first week of 2024 sucked. And I am not going to let it keep me down. I'm ready for it to just be up from here. Yes, so we're going to be chill. I'm chillaxed. I'm Chidi relaxed. I'm chillaxed.
I'm pretty Chidi relaxed as well.
Well, good, because we're here to talk about Season 4, Episode 3. It's Chapter 42, and it is called Chillaxing. This episode was directed by Anya Adams. This is her first and only directing credit on The Good Place here in the final season. But some credits outside of The Good Place include 4 episodes of Speechless, a show that we both sing the praise of, an underrated show. 1 episode of Glow, 2 episodes of Blackish, 6 episodes of Fresh Off the Boat, 3 episodes of one of the silliest, stupidest, worst shows I've ever actually sat through most of a season of, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, 2 episodes of The Expanse, which I hear is really good, and then more recently an episode of Not Dead Yet and an episode of Yellow Jackets. Anya Adams, who directed this episode. The episode was written by a name we've heard before, but not as often as I thought. It's written by Aisha Muharar. I remember struggling over this name before, and it hasn't gotten any easier. She only wrote 1 other episode in the series, and it was the 3rd episode, Tahani Al-Jamil, all the way back in Season 1.
So pretty dope Tahani episodes.
Sure. Yeah, both of them. And then outside of this, her main credits include 1 episode of, do you know this show? It's called Sit Down, Shut Up. It was a 1-season animated show on Fox, like when we were 10. The reason I knew this show is it was right after I discovered Arrested Development for the first time.
Nice.
And this was a Mitch Hurwitz created show that included a lot of the voice cast, or a lot of the cast of Arrested Development, like Jason Bateman and Will Arnett. And it also had like Kenan Thompson in it and Kristen Chenoweth. And it was like
awesome.
It was about a school, and it was animated people, but all of the backgrounds were live action, which was kind of cool.
Interesting.
Sit Down, Shut Up. I don't know if it holds up at all, but I liked it when it was on. Outside of that, she wrote 14 episodes of Parks and Recreation across its run, and more recently wrote 1 episode of a show we've mentioned before. Neither of us have seen it, or too hip to it, but Hacks, a show that I've heard is quite good.
Yeah.
This episode, Chillaxing, originally aired on October 10th, 2019. So let's go all the way back to the fall of, what was that, 4 years ago now?
Yeah. 5.
No, 5 years ago now. Well,
4 and
like,
change.
Just over 4 years. But you know what I'm saying. 4 years ago, on October 10th, 2019, we're going to talk about the #1 movie. This is a movie I have seen in the theater. Wow. It was a hugely successful movie. It won an Oscar, and it kind of changed what you can do with a comic book property.
Is this what I think it is?
I mean, probably. I just kind of gave it away.
Is it Into the Spider-Verse?
No.
Oh, okay. Comic book. Can I get like any hint about the
It won
plot?
an Oscar.
I mean, Black Panther was nominated.
No, think about like 4chan.
Oh, okay. Comic book property. Oh, is it fucking... No. Huh. Deadpool didn't win an Oscar.
No, it's Joker. Joaquin Phoenix as Joker, which did totally change what you can do with a comic book movie, because it's like a side universe villain origin story that has nothing to do with the hero. And unlike things like Venom, it was just a major box office smash, making $1 billion when it was like a gritty
What did you think
drama.
Of this movie, Zach?
I've only seen it the one time. I think it's overrated. I think it was good enough to make me watch it again, though.
Yeah.
And see the second one, see what they do.
I think it has one of the most realistic
gun
use
violence.
of like gun violence. It's very quick. It's very
takes the
dramatized.
wind out of the room, but it only takes a second.
That shit like made me like I remember I went to go see it, and I was pretty much by myself in the theater. Because it was like a Monday at like 7 o'clock or some shit like that. And I took the train home, and it was like empty. And I was fucking terrified the whole train ride back. Yeah. But I think it's good, but it definitely is overrated. I don't know. I don't think it's one of those I don't think it's like the greatest movie of all time or anything.
Yeah.
But
it's good, but it makes me like it less. That I think people are getting some of the wrong messages from the movie. You know?
Yeah.
Well, Joker, we're going to go back to 2019 and talk about what people thought of it when it came out.
Yeah.
Enough of what we thought about it. What do the people that matter think about Joker? Starting with Rotten Tomatoes, what do you think the critics of Rotten Tomatoes are sitting on Joker?
94?
No, it's lower.
83?
No, it's lower. Try one more time.
70?
69.
Really?
69% from the critics.
I thought that critics loved this shit.
I think maybe critics loved Joaquin Phoenix.
Sure, that's fair.
But what about the audience? Do you think the audience is higher or lower than a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes?
I'm going to go back up to like 79.
It is higher than that.
85.
It's a little bit higher than that. 88% from the audience.
Wow. Okay, so that's more what I was thinking it was going to be around.
So we've got 69% from the critics, which is still a fresh score, almost practically 70. That's not bad. 88, which is honestly 69 is probably close to how I feel about the movie.
Yeah.
More than glass half full, but nothing to like really write home about.
Yeah.
However, the audience, 88%. Do you think that's going to be what the people at Letterboxd, the enlightened crowd of Letterboxd, is going to think of the movie?
I think it's going to be high like that. I think it's going to be a little bit lower, maybe.
It
but
is.
definitely higher
I've
than
translated
critics.
to a percentage out of 100.
Yeah.
Where do you think Letterboxd sits?
Maybe like 75.
You are one number off.
74?
No, a 76% from Letterboxd, which is a pretty solid score.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so moving over to the Billboard charts, the Hot 200 for the week of October 10th, 2019. The number one album this week, I think this is the third in a row because every week of season 4 so far, it's been Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone.
Post Malone.
So our number 2 album this week, I'm going to start you off with the name of the lead single from this album.
Okay.
The lead single of this album is called Someone I Used to Know.
Okay, well, it's not Gautier.
That was my misdirect. No, it's not Gautier.
Yeah, it's not Gautier.
Because that would have been like 2014 or
Someone
something.
I used to know.
That was just more of a joke. You're not going to get it from that. This is
Yeah.
a country album, a number 2 album on the charts, a band that's been around for a long time, and the band is named after the person who's in it.
Oh. Well, it's not Hootie and the Blowfish.
No.
It's not Big and Rich.
I don't know if you're going to get it.
It's not
Do you want
the
me to just
Chicks.
tell you? It's specifically like the front man's name in the title of the band.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
I don't know if that would be considered a country group as far as
And
charts
I
are concerned.
won't back down.
I'm not saying I disagree.
I won't back down.
No, the number 2 album, I'm pretty sure Tom Petty was dead in 2019.
Yeah. But the
Number
rebel
2.
spirit lives forever.
The number 2 album this week is called The Owl by Zac Brown Band.
Oh, Zac Brown Band's actually pretty good. It's a little bit chicken fried.
This
Cold
album
beer on a
was
Friday night.
a noted step away from country music into something else for the band.
Oh.
So let's talk about what people think of The Owl by Zac Brown Band. Not a lot of professional critics are reviewing pop country, apparently.
No, they're not,
Even
which
though this was
tells
the
me-
number 2 album. So before we talk about Rate Your Music, this professional publication we're going to discuss is 6 Shooter Country.
Oh, God.
What do you think 6 Shooter Country gave The Owl by the Zac Brown Band out of 10?
I think they gave it a solid 7.
No, it's lower.
Ooh.
This ain't country.
6.3?
No, it's a 5 out of 10.
Wow.
For
5 out
The
of 10.
Owl by Zac
Bring
Brown
back
Band.
the car talk.
Featuring Someone I Used to Know and Leaving Love Behind. I'm noticing
I
a
don't
trend.
know either of those.
Rate Your Music, the Letterboxd of music. We know them, we love them. Out of 10 to the 100th, so 2 decimal places.
I can just see
Out
the
of
review
10.
now. A welcome stray from the tired country pop aesthetic that Zac Brown Band used for years.
You've
This
been
is a
reading
step
my
in the right
reviews.
direction, but but still not where I know they can reach.
Ooh.
6.3.
It is so much lower than that.
Ooh, a 3?
It is lower at a 2.86 out of 10.
Holy fuck! That might be the
from
lowest
Rate Your
score
Music.
we've had.
So that's like a 1.43 over there out of 5.
That's
something
bad.
like that.
That's a low score.
Yes.
Poor
The number
Zac
2 album,
Brown
The Owl by Zac
Band.
Brown Band. How many people do you think were leaving the theater from seeing Joker and were cranking up Leaving Love Behind off The Owl by Zac Brown
Less
Band?
than 12.
But
I
not
think
zero.
in all of in the entire
The
United
movie made $1 billion.
States.
You know, that's a lot of
Yeah.
people.
But
12 of them or less were doing that.
because that means the person has to have the album
Yes.
and like it and be in the mood after watching Joker, seeing the final
I don't know,
scene where
these
he's
songs
laying
are
on top of
angsty.
a car.
Someone I Used to Know, Leaving Love Behind. I could see it being that's what I
Maybe.
was going for, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Well, let's move on into our conversation on chillaxing by stepping to one of my favorite segments we do here every week, and I think it might be one of your favorites too. Not you, Steven, but the audience. That's always who I'm talking to, not you. It's time to find out, of course, did Steven watch the episode this week?
This week. And then I'll be just fine. And the radio on.
You know more of that song than I know.
I know a lot of that song. I have to play it at work a lot.
Really? You have to dance to pop country?
Sometimes.
That sucks. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't think that would be worth any money, any amount of money, to listen to a little bit of chicken fried.
Chicken fried.
I guess I do frequent Cracker Barrel occasionally, but I'm able to like tune out everything else about it. Sure.
Well, if you talk loud enough, you can't hear it. So if you just yell the whole time.
I do.
Yeah.
Hey! Are you okay, sir? What's going on? No, it's just a song.
I'm fine. It's not like a song.
And then it switches to Dolly Parton, and I quiet for a few minutes.
Then you're like,
you've got 20 seconds on the clock to tell us everything that happened in Chillaxing. How are you feeling? How are your chances? How are the odds in your favor this afternoon?
Zach, if I'm being honest,
Please do.
I feel like there's a lot to get to in this week, and I don't know how quickly I'm going to be able to do it. So I don't know how confident I am.
Last week was rough, and it was the first time you had to do it in almost a month. So let's hope returning to it this week, maybe you can at least like start at a better pace. Maybe you can get speed, have speed be your friend. Get a little speed, take a little speed and see if that helps.
Yeah, let me just grab my speed pile, my speed drug.
Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay.
I'm as ready as I'm gonna be, Zach.
Yes. Well, the time has come.
In the words of Gavin DeGraw,
you can keep
don't
riffing,
want to be
but I'm gonna start counting
anyone
down.
other than what I've been trying to be lately.
It's up to you if this is worth it or not. 3, 2, 1, go.
Chidi is too relaxed, so we gotta stress him out so he makes people better. So we're gonna stick him with Jason, who's gonna make his life miserable, but it gets too miserable, and Eleanor gets sad because she was too mean. Meanwhile, Tahani's gotta help John because he always wanted to be rich, but he never was. But it turns out he needed a friend like she needed a friend, so now they're friends together. And then Janet is dyeing her hair because she's sad about Jason.
That was pretty good. I'm trying to think if there's like a C plot or something that you're forgetting before we actually go through the episode.
I know, I couldn't think of a C one when I was saying it, but
if you were gonna get like an A or A plus, I think you could have really sent home the John and Tahani storyline, which I actually think is pretty good, by saying they find out that their positioning is about the exact same as each other, even if they were on different sides. You got it out. But
I said he needs a friend and she needed a friend.
I know, but you could have said that they were like the same type of lonely or something. I'm saying if you wanted to get like an A plus, because I think you did really well. I think that was an A minus.
Thank you, Zach. I felt pretty good about that.
Yeah, I think that was quite
I
good.
had thought out. I tried to use my time accordingly, but I didn't know how much time I had spent on the Eleanor thing, and I could have even gone further into that. But I thought, thank you.
Yeah, I think that makes up for last week quite a bit. Good job.
Thank you very much.
Well, let's see if maybe I can reclaim some of my former glory in a good old round of trivia. I only have 7 questions.
I've got 9 for you this week.
Go ahead.
Okay, what figure did Chidi have a near mint version of?
You would ask this. And in my notes, I have the name written down. I actually think my first question has the name written down, but that's not... Alfred Schubert.
You're really
locking
close.
it in.
It's Arthur Schopenhauer.
I knew it was A and
Yeah, you were pretty close. Good for you, buddy.
Well, what did near mint Arthur Schopenhauer come with? You son of a bitch. You don't know, do you? You piece of shit. Love to watch him squirm.
A tiny notepad?
Really close. Think of the other end of what you get with the notepad.
Tiny ink pen.
Really close. It comes with a working quill.
Oh, that's cute.
I don't think that's enough to give it to you, but it's very close.
Yeah.
Both of us came close.
What did Brent get in moral values at Princeton?
A B plus?
You got it.
And you did even better this week.
I
your
did. Yeah,
segment.
fuck you,
Yes.
Brent.
What does Eleanor do to torture exes?
Oh, this was almost one of my questions.
It's in there. It's a funny joke.
She fills their...
Fills their what? Fills their what?
Something with something.
Oh my god.
I can't remember it. I have
Fills
CPL.
their acoustic with wet
guitar
cat food.
with... Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's so gross.
Yeah,
that's such a
gross,
specific
funny.
imagery that it's stuck in my head because I deal in wet cat food on occasion, and it is pretty gross.
That's pretty grody. Where did Gigi Hadid go for her spa trip?
Bali.
Yeah, you got it.
That was my next question.
Not Bally's Total Fitness, as some may think.
Many have said that.
Yeah.
Give me another one because you just took one of mine.
How many Game of Thrones characters are based on Tahani? Oh, I wish so much I'd switched it out to the alternate question that I could have asked about that.
How many were ready for
later.
action? 6.
Yeah. Oh,
fuck you.
But you already had said 8. Alex Trebek hated when people answered the question before he was fucking done.
Yeah, and look where that got Alex Trebek. Huh? Rest in peace. He's a legend and an icon.
Yeah.
What was Chidi going to offer Jason before he spills his secrets?
Tea. He was going to offer him tea. What does the Oprah mushroom water taste like?
Candy.
Candy.
I'm doing pretty good. Not perfect, but I'm bringing it back a little bit. Okay. What does Chidi beg Jason no more of? There's 2 things. Please, no more.
It's when they're in the bud hole.
Uh-huh. It always is.
Come on, Steven. God damn it.
What a loser. No more meatball subs.
Uh-huh.
And no more drawing boobs in the dirt.
Drawing boobs in the dirt. That's what it was. What poster is on Jason's new butthole wall?
I don't know if I know who it is. You've asked me questions like this before. Some nameless, attractive woman.
We're looking for Kendall Jenner.
I stand by what I said. How many Tums did Chidi take today?
20, which is nothing.
Like 20.
Like 20.
But yes, I'll give you 20.
Yeah, you will. How many hours a day did John spend building his website?
16.
16. That's
I had that thought. Yeah. It does
where's
make
your
you
dedication,
think of him
Zach?
a little bit. I spend easily 16 hours on podcast day.
On podcast day.
Yes.
Not a day.
And every other day I work 10 hours in my actual job. This podcasting day is my
14 left.
Podcasting is my day. There's 14 left.
Yeah, after the 10
in that
you
10
work.
hours. Yeah, and I sleep for 11 of them.
Oh.
I've got one last question for you. What will John and Tahani watch together?
Unironically, the Britney Spears movie Crossroads.
Have you seen it?
It's been a long time.
I haven't seen it.
We should watch it. Unironically. I
Sure.
have 2 more for you. What color flowers are on Chidi's sleigh?
Don't know.
You have a
Yellow
guess?
and red.
Ooh, we're looking for white.
And
And
what?
then, just white.
Oh, I thought there were multiple colors, just white.
No,
Okay.
John had a multiple colored one.
Okay.
How did Tahani get into the extra exclusive room at the party?
There was a 4-digit code. There was a pin number.
Exclusive pin pad. You did pretty well, Zach.
I didn't do too bad. I just did so well a couple weeks ago that anything other than complete perfection
I mean,
will
to be
not be
fair,
good
you
enough.
got 6 out of 9, which your percentage kind of went down with the last couple of questions, but you had
That's
done.
okay.
Or no, you got
The first couple,
5
really.
out of 9 because you missed 4. No, you didn't. I lied to you. You got 6 out of 9. You
I'll
didn't miss
take
the
it.
last one.
I'm not going to count how many you got right, but I think it was like 2 or 1 or 3.
Okay, I'll take those odds. Combine
I said
them.
to you before we started recording that this episode, Chillaxing, is one of those episodes that makes me really glad that I do watch these episodes twice. I watched them once, just try to give it my full attention, but I'm not taking notes. I'm just watching it and trying to enjoy it. Then I watch it a second time the next day, like this morning, and I take my notes as I watch it. Because I watched it last night and I didn't dislike it, but I kind of felt like I wasn't laughing quite as much as maybe I did the last 2 weeks, and that it also just kind of feels like a transition episode. But by the second time I watched it, I realized that's not a bad thing, and the thing that we're transitioning from and to is important, and there are character dynamics that work really well in this episode that are important. So on the second watch, I found a lot to really appreciate about this episode, even if I am still kind of waiting for like the big arc of season 4 to truly begin. I still had a lot of fun with this episode. What about you?
Yeah, I really liked that this episode kind of like, it truly chillaxed a little bit, because we've had so many episodes in a row going back to last season.
Because like Chidi is stressed.
Nonstop. Yeah. But like of nonstop, like major things being altered or new people being introduced. This is the first one in a while that we haven't gotten any more or less characters put into it. Okay. We kind of get to stick with who we've got. I mean, last week we didn't necessarily add anybody, but there was the whole...
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's the first time that we just get to go into this experiment and just, like, do it and see not just Eleanor going through being stressed about one thing. Like, Eleanor's doing pretty fine most of the episode.
Yeah.
So I think it's...
We see in the end that maybe she wasn't, but I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I like that this episode kind of slows down for a minute, because things have been changing and happening so fast. We haven't gotten to live in this new world, really, and this episode we kind of get to do that, which I like.
It does that. And we've done this with other experiments, but it's fun the way we see the different angles of how the experiment works when you're on both sides of it in a couple different ways. And I really like that this episode, it gives Eleanor a conflict that doesn't discount the growth that she had last week. Yeah. And it kind of puts some of the characters to the side a little bit. Brent doesn't actually make an appearance in this episode, I don't think. And it gives us what we've been missing in the last couple episodes, which is Tahani and Chidi and John. And they all get satisfying, funny stuff that moves their stuff forward while the main stuff is still kind of happening around it. I think it's a good episode, and I think we should dive into it and talk about it.
Let's do it.
Michael and Eleanor are discussing the plan for the day, what they're going to try to do today, and that's pretty much what they do. Chidi should be starting his new study group with Brent to help him become a better person, and they start to just kind of talk about, oh, Chidi's the best, he's so great, he's going to make this happen. Eleanor cutely makes fun of how he collected action figures of famous philosophers, and the little, oh man, he's such a nerd, I love him so much.
That's cute.
Michael is marveling, though, because Chidi is the one that they need to help, and it's so big of him that he gave up his memory to do this. But while Michael's saying this, he loses track of, oh yeah, and you're my friend, and it's so sad, and I feel so bad for you. Oh my God, Eleanor, this must be so hard.
And I'm so conscious of it all the time.
Have you ever had anything like that where maybe two people aren't friends anymore or in a relationship anymore, and you're like, wow, they're just out doing the best stuff, and I'm so proud. Oh wait, oh yeah, they suck. Have you ever been in a situation like that?
One time I asked somebody how their new puppy was, and it was dead.
Not really what I was looking for, but I like the story.
Yeah, that's about the closest I can draw to that.
Chidi walks up to the table where Michael and Eleanor are sitting, and he's not the Chidi that we know. He's laughing audibly as he's walking into frame. He's wearing a sky blue button-up that I think has a couple buttons undone, and this hat on. He's on his way to a picnic, we learn. And Michael kind of says, well, don't you have a lot going on? What about Brent? How's that going? And you know what? Chidi's not worried about it. Brent seems not that into it. He got a B+ at Princeton. Did I tell you I went to Princeton? I really like Chidi's line. What is it? He got a B+, so maybe he should be the professor. And then he asked me if I knew that he went to Princeton, and I said I did. And then he said he went to Princeton, and then he left. What are you gonna do? He's not sweating it because Chidi's able to live the good life in this incarnation. I think that's really smart. That what makes Chidi an active player in these experiments is that he's stressed out. And because of Chidi's sacrifice, they're really stepping over eggshells to keep everything comfortable for Chidi, but that's making him unable to be a player in the way he has in the past. I think it's a really good conflict for what they do with this whole episode and to bring Chidi back into the main storyline.
I agree. Because, like, as far as Chidi knows, he's got a soulmate. He can call books on command.
They hit him in the head sometimes if he's not careful. But
like, he gets a pretty good life.
Eleanor tries to be specific to Chidi and to snap him into his stress and says, well, you know, what would Kant think about this? You're so into Kant. What would all these philosophers say about you being so lackadaisical? And Chidi, and it's kind of nice to hear him say something like this. He's like, well, I think even Kant would say it's nice out today, so I'm going to go play some Frisbee golf. It's kind of nice. I love that for him. He deserves that. Just like our politicians deserve to play golf 8 to 19 times a week. Chidi deserves some Frisbee golf in between saving humanity.
Exactly. The good place gets it.
So after making the Frisbee golf Kant joke, Chidi starts laughing, and then Michael joins in on the laugh, and it's very awkward. And then Chidi walks away and calls off to some of the Janet babies. Guys, you got to hear this joke I made about Kant. He really is surrounded by yes men, because even the other people in the neighborhood are going to like laugh and cheer him on no matter what he says or does. So they're back to the office, kind of worried about this. Michael's exclaiming, he's never seen Chidi like this. He's chillaxing. Chidi relaxing. Do you think that's funny?
It's fine. Yeah, a little bit.
It's cute. He's had all of the burden removed, so he's totally chill. He's not being tortured like he has been in the past, so he just gets to be here and enjoy himself. So the natural thing to think is, okay, we've got to stress him out, because then he'll start to act out of stress instead of just being chill. They need these stressful situations to help him be motivated to help people. This is such a funny line just because of how comfortable Eleanor and Michael are in their back and forth. How Eleanor says,
Right. You want to make a pearl, you got to get some sand in your clam.
Oyster, we need Chidi to live in a world of low-grade dread.
They've got to meddle in Chidi's life to stress him out, and Eleanor is used to doing this with some of her exes, like we talked about. She'd fill up an acoustic guitar with some wet cat food. That makes sense that Eleanor would be dating dudes that have an acoustic guitar that's very important to them, that also have a cat and a lot of wet cat food. And that joke, like so many great Good Place jokes and sitcom jokes, paints a picture of Eleanor sitting on a couch with like 30 cans of cat food from the pantry, peeling them one at a time and scraping them into the guitar with a fork and giving it like a good shake. I can see the whole thing. Then we get the beginning of Tahani's storyline in this episode. It's really great to see Tahani come back in full force after really in season 3's second half and the first half, or a couple episodes of this season, she's been kind of a background player with Jason. She's reading all this info about John on like a hologram screen that's up in the sky, and she calls Janet to come in. When Janet comes in, we notice that now she has this red streak in her hair. What do you think of the new look?
Love.
You love it.
Love it.
Were we both guys in high school that were into girls with colored hair?
Yes.
Yeah. Still kind of am, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nothing wrong with it.
Nothing wrong with it.
I feel like it makes every single person, whether I was attracted to them or not before, it makes them incrementally more attractive to have like
I think
a
especially
crazy
like
guy colored
a
hair.
single, like a little bit of it too, like that guaranteed to work.
Jana dyed her hair because she researched what humans do after breakups. Number 8 was do something stupid with your hair. And then
Almost every
scrolling down
time.
some, number 42 was to see Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again. Have you seen Mamma Mia 2?
I have not seen the second one, but I do know that it's mostly the same songs.
I saw it in the theater.
Wow.
But what they do that's kind of smart, because it's like part sequel, part prequel about Meryl Streep's character when she was young.
And the fact that she was fucking like 3 guys at the same time.
Yes.
Good for her.
All the reused songs are in that storyline. So like the Amanda Seyfried and the 3 dads, they get all of the like B-team ABBA songs that weren't in the first movie.
Nice. I like ABBA.
Oh yeah, the album that
ABBA's
they
great.
came out of retirement to make was pretty bad, but outside of that,
that's too bad.
Tahani tries to get Janet back to working. Like, I know you're going through some stuff, but there's a lot to do. Specifically, John. I'm kind of worried about John, and Tahani has this idea to give him a spa day as a way to help break through to him. This whole scene is kind of cute. How Tahani and Janet keep saying spa day. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Tahani's noticed from researching John that back in 2014, John mocked Gigi Hadid for going to Bali incessantly online. But then that same year, he went and looked up a discount hotel package, whatever that is, to go to the same place. Can you give me a little lowdown on who Gigi Hadid is?
I was just going to say pop
why
culture
I know
trivia.
her name and who I should care
Which
and why.
member of a once popular boy band was she married to?
Just thinking of time frame, would it be a One Directioner?
It would be a One Directioner.
Would it be one Zayn?
It would be one Zayn Malik
Kinda
famously
guessed.
was with Gigi
Sure.
for a long time.
And is that the only reason people know who she is?
No, she's also a very famous runway model and
Oh,
fashion model, along with her sister Bella Hadid, who was in a relationship with The Weeknd for a long time.
I know these names.
Gigi,
Don't really know
also
the
host
stories.
of Netflix's Next in Fashion, co-host with Tan France.
Never heard of that.
Of season 2.
Do you say with Taylor Hicks?
Tan France. Not
Taylor
the
Hicks.
old-looking guy that won American Idol. and
Not
then
the guy
did
who won
nothing.
American Idol who looks like one of the Cars from Disney Pixar's Cars.
He beat Catherine McPhee.
Is that so?
Yeah, she came second to Taylor Hicks.
Tahani is making the connection with John
From Cars.
that he's always felt left out and felt the FOMO of commenting on celebrity but not being a part of that world. So Tahani is going to try to help by including him in everything that he once felt left out of, which is a decent idea.
Yeah, I think it there's some like good thinking behind it. I really liked Tahani's episode this week.
I really like the growth that Tahani has had over this show, that she never loses what makes her not quite there, but she makes so much progress. Like this would never have happened with season 1 Tahani. She wouldn't care.
No.
Janet recommends that she lures in John with celebrity gossip because that really gets him going. Maybe mention the 8 different Game of Thrones characters that are based on Tahani. I haven't seen much Game of Thrones. I know you've seen... Have you seen all of it?
All of it.
What characters...
Most of it at least twice.
...would you say are the ones based on Tahani if you have to?
Okay.
Can you name 8?
Can I name 8 Game of Thrones characters?
That would be potentially based on Tahani? Al-Jamil?
Yeah, probably. I'm gonna take an easy way out, and this is not racist. I'm gonna take the 3 sand snakes for sure, because they're all beautiful, tall.
Knowing nothing
brown women.
about Game of Thrones,
let's go
you're
Sansa
saying, well, she's
Stark.
definitely the
Let's
sand
go
snake.
Queen Cersei.
Okay.
Let's go Brienne of Tarth. Let's go wife of Robb Stark. Let's
Schneider.
go the one and the same. Oh, that's 7. And then 8. Let's go fuck it, Ned Stark.
Okay, well, I can't confirm or deny any of that, so sound
Yeah,
off
you
in
sure
the comments. Yeah, someone in the comments last week said maybe we do all need to watch Abominable, so maybe we can all get together, watch Abominable. Let us know if those Game of Thrones characters track with Tahani. Tahani wants the spa day because first we can open John's pores and then we can open his heart. And Janet takes that line and takes it to the next level with, yes, first we exfoliate the dead skin cells of envy and then we detoxify his soul. Yeah, okay, spa day.
Spa day.
Then John literally prances over, like he's moving his arms side to side, and it's really cute. Much like I find Brent really funny in his episode last week, I think John's really funny in this episode
I do too.
He prances over. He's very excited for spa day, and he's very excited that he can eat whatever he wants without gaining any weight here in the good place. He's talking about, well, it's the good place. No one has any jobs or stress or problems, but I just feel like I need this, talking about the spa
You
day.
need a little break sometimes.
Tahani had Janet to the T recreate a specific spa. It's Victoria Beckham's exclusive posh spice spa.
The posh wash.
The posh wash. This is a cringy line, but I guess it works for what they want it to. That membership is usually based on your weight and your net worth. So if you gain a pound or lose a pound, you're out. John's very excited about
That's
this.
funny. Yeah.
Okay, this is also a funny non sequitur scene. Eleanor and Michael walk up to Jason to ask him for help, and I like the continuity here that he's dejected, doesn't talk a ton about his breakup, but he's just mopey. You know when your friend is mopey for a month after a breakup. Jason, we need your help.
Okay. Hand me the jar.
What?
The peanut butter jar. Give it. You said you needed help opening a peanut butter jar.
No, we didn't. Oh. Just shut up. And Eleanor explains what they need from him. And they don't really actually explain what they need from him. We don't really specifically get, hey, we're assigning you to Chidi. You need to do this to stress him out. We just see it in practice. But they do tell him that saving humanity might be a way for him to get over his breakup. Janet doesn't have a car he can key. I didn't get this line. Janet doesn't have a car he can key and doesn't have a house that he can left eye Lopez? Is that what they said? Is that a thing?
Left Eye Lopez
Do you know what it is?
from TLC, Set It on Fire.
Okay.
Lisa Left Eye Lopez from
Nope.
TLC. Set a guy's house on fire.
TLC meaning the Learning Channel?
Yeah, set a guy's house on fire. John and Kate
I
plus
didn't
8.
know. And one of the girls from TLC set a guy's house on fire.
The one that's dead.
There's someone from TLC that died.
Jesus. Zach knows nothing.
I thought they were the ones running the television
pop
channel.
culture.
Okay.
Yeah, they're dead.
Sorry.
I think she set a guy's house on fire.
And Jason
Pretty
says,
sure.
okay, I'm in. Now, can you just hand me the jar? Can we get over the jar? Michael has a moment here where he says, when you say jar, do you mean the problem that you're trying to get to the deeper level of? Jason says, yes. I don't know. Michael's just grasping for anything to make this a little more complex than, it's just Jason.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's spa day. They're at the posh wash. John and Tahani are enjoying their beverage, which is fresh water from Oprah's estate in Maui that includes mushrooms from her private bog in the Pyrenees.
Wow.
Tahani says, oh, you know what they say. Bog water from Oprah's Pyrenees is better than any bog water. And John's like, I don't know. I didn't know that they say that, but I'm so glad to know now. He finally is getting to experience the best of the best, just like Tahani got to her whole life. And he says the only thing that would make this any better is some hot goss. And I love the way that Tahani opens up her name drop story. She says, very well, our story begins with Robbie Williams, Heidi Klum, and the remaining members of Fifth Harmony at the Dolce & Gabbana Spring Show.
I almost was going to ask how many theoretical remaining members of Fifth Harmony there were, but I wouldn't know that you knew who was from that group that was famous.
I would have guessed they were not together.
Well, 2 of them have successful solo careers now.
But are there still people that perform as Fifth Harmony, or is that just done? I would guess
I
no.
wouldn't know. I'd guess not. Do you know who the 2 are with successful solo careers?
Who?
Do you know who the 2 are that currently have successful solo careers?
I couldn't name one member of Fifth Harmony, no.
We're looking for
JoJo
one.
Siwa. I'm going to go with JoJo Siwa. I'm
No.
going to go with the pop star known just as JoJo. I'm going to go with JoJo's Circus. I'm going to go with JoJo from Horton Hears a Who.
Fifth Harmony, famously 4 JoJos together. They were going to be JoJo and the JoJos, but they couldn't get Joe Jonas on board, so it didn't work out. No, Camila Cabello.
Yeah, I know who that is.
And Normani.
She was Cinderella. And Norm Macdonald? No, he died.
Did you say Normani was Cinderella? You mean Brandy?
No. Camila Cabello. Wasn't she in the new Cinderella movie with Billy Porter? Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Normani. And I was like, racist.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald was Cinderella with Brandy.
He was a genie Cinderella. Crossover.
Later, they're leaving the spa, and John has learned a bunch of dirty secrets, like how Scarlett Johansson's stunts are always done by Natalie Portman, and it's just like a power play. And why would she do that? For the power, just to say she can. Sure, I get that.
Yeah.
John is feeling amazing, and he thanks Tahani, who then is like, okay, I'm in. Time to move this into what I was really trying to say the whole time. What if maybe you also try out some type of inner treatment? It's called ethics. Think of it as a colonic for your soul. There's this guy, Chidi. He's got a class, an ethics class. What do you say you and I just both sit in for fun? And John says something very much like whenever my mom tries to ask me to go to a church thing with her. Mm-hmm. Would I like to use my time in heaven to audit a philosophy class? No, you stay crazy, girl. Bye. Do I want to spend my freedom as an adult?
I would love to hear you give Connie a "You stay crazy, girl."
You
Bye.
stay crazy, girl. Bye. Then we move to Eleanor and Jason, who are stepping into Chidi's study. We're about to see what they asked Jason to do. They ask Chidi how his picnic was, and he says it was fine until it was overtaken by ants who were actually really helpful and helped them put away. I don't know. There's this running joke about these magic ants that pays off in a big way later that I really like. Eleanor says, wait till you see the otters who do our turn down service. So Eleanor brings in Jason as Jianyu and says that he should join Chidi's philosophy discussion. And Chidi says, sure, fine, fun. Everything's so fun. Who cares? Let's do it. But then Eleanor takes Chidi to the side and says, Jianyu's really having trouble adjusting, especially socially, because he's a monk and he's having trouble making friends. And Eleanor knows that this will really call out to Chidi, looking him right in the eye and saying, hey, promise me that you'll help him no matter what. So, of course, Chidi makes this promise that he'll really stick to, that he'll never have any way of standing by. He can't possibly know how hard that it's going to be to keep. And Eleanor says, okay, bye, and leaves. Chidi gets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words out.
So, John, would you like some...
Yo, shut up for a sec. I'm not a Buddhist monk. My name is Jason Mendoza. I'm a DJ from Florida, and I'm not supposed to be here. You gotta help me out, homie. I'm scared.
And it's so funny to see. There are a lot of things in this episode that make you think back to season 1, whether it's Chidi on the couple's spa day in season 1, or here Jason not being able to keep the secret and telling Eleanor he's not supposed to be here. You see how well it works both when Jason doesn't know he's supposed to do this and when Jason does know that he's supposed to do this. He just rattles it off so well. So we cut to 1 week later, and now Chidi's very stressed out, but Jason's thanking him for helping him. He's finally got this shiny new butthole. Everything's looking great. I said just butthole. Bud hole.
You did just say butthole.
Chidi's in full stomach ache mode and has been clearly covering for Jason a lot, as we've seen Eleanor do in the past, and he can't possibly do this anymore. It's making him sick. And just as he says this, of course, there's a knock on the door, and it's Michael and Eleanor just dropping in to see what's going on. Kind of like Michael would always drop in on Chidi and Eleanor. Yeah. And they start to poke their head in and spy, and I noticed there's a mess. Chidi says, you may have noticed my apartment was decorated, and now it's been redecorated. It's just a butthole now, just stuff all over the place. And he says, everything's going fine with Jianyu. He's peaceful, never shotgunning Cheese Whiz. Were you ever a Cheese Whiz out of the can boy, or were you ever a Cheese Whiz boy?
I don't dislike Cheese Whiz. I think on some like Ritz crackers it can go kind of crazy. I have a vivid memory of the year I played football. One of my friends that was on the team would always bring like Cheese Whiz like as a snack. Like that was what the snack that he had to eat, and so sometimes we'd all just unsanitarily pass around the Cheese Whiz and go right from the can into our mouths.
And then he'd go home and say, Mom, it happened again. They all cornered me and took my Whiz. That was my Whiz.
They cheesed my Whiz.
1 can of Cheese Whiz is 1 man snack, not a team's.
Not a team snack. What about you, Zach? Were you a Cheese Whiz?
Probably when I was a kid. I had a friend who would come over from childhood and adulthood, and his first move would be to open the fridge in my house, notice that we still had the thing of spray butter, and spray it in his mouth like 6 times. Like throughout the day. He'd just like open it up, grab it,
gotta keep it fresh.
I know, I guess.
That can't be good for you.
Chidi gives some details for a second. This is anyway, I see you guys are still here. And it's because they're going to ask him to accompany Jianyu to the luau. I love how they're just grasping for how many parties. It's kind of like in Community. How many parties have we done? What's the theme for this party? Okay, we're having a luau tonight. Can you accompany Jianyu? Because he's still having trouble engaging with other people. Chidi tries to have an excuse. He's saying, I can't make it. But all Eleanor has to do is look at him, and he remembers the promise that he made. He says, okay, I just remember I can make it. So Eleanor and Michael leave, and once the doors close, they fist bump each other because it's going perfectly to plan. Later on, it is the luau, and all of Janet's NPC babies are having like non-specific fun at this party, making chatter and standing and taking up space. It's really fun to watch them from that perspective.
Yeah.
And Janet comes up to Tahani, not quite sure why John isn't progressing, because Tahani's been giving him so much attention, been dealing so much with him, and it doesn't really seem like he's getting any better. Tahani's not really sure either. She even recreated this exploration of the Louvre where you can touch everything. And what did she say? You can ride something in the water.
I didn't know what that was.
I didn't catch it either. Oh, Mr. Subtitles.
I just didn't know what the word meant, Zach. I saw it written. I just didn't know it. I saw the words.
They've been doing all this stuff together. It's not quite working. Tahani's gotten so many treatments. Her hair might just be all too shiny and lustrous from all the beauty treatments. And still, John has no interest in self-improvement or ethics. Tahani hasn't encountered this much resistance since she asked Timothée Chalamet to go out in the sun. It's fun watching these episodes that came out. I mean, it's been 4 years now, but it feels so recent still.
You know the Timothy Chalamet skin in Call of Duty? It's Dune, not Willy Wonka, unfortunately. But
I don't think they look any different. Just the costuming?
The outfits are different, yeah.
Okay. Does he have the tube in his nose?
No, but he's in like the fucking like Shark Boy gray suit.
From Wonka.
Yeah, from Wonka, the skin-tight Shark Boy suit scene from Willy Wonka.
Janet's been looking through some of John's files and tells Tahani that maybe, based off of that, what she really needs to do is just directly say to him, hey, this is what your problem is and what I think you need to do. And that kind of gets Tahani fired up, and she decides to go on attack mode. Like, how many of the 8 characters from Game of Thrones? Eleanor walks up to Jason because he has a moment alone and asks how things are going with Chidi. And Jason says, great, all I have to do is be myself, and he's constantly freaking out. And this is when we start to see Eleanor's problem in this episode. She asks what she can do or what they can do to make it worse. And even Jason, who opens it with, listen, E-dog, is able to say, I think we're starting to take this too far. It's working out. He's stressed. Let's just take it easy on him. But Eleanor says it's not enough. He's not dry heaving. He hasn't taken a whole jar of Tums yet, just the 20. They have to keep going. They have to move ahead. Eleanor says he's like Superman with nervous diarrhea, because he just needs constant agitation to save humanity. So Eleanor leaves to prepare for her speech, and Jason is renewed in torturing Chidi. Then we get where Tahani will confront John. John asks Tahani, hey, how about we try this Little Mermaid spa treatment I keep hearing? It's where they take your vocal cords, and somehow it makes your legs look great.
That sounds incredible. That's so funny.
And then another perfect Tahani way to open a sentence, her saying, well, actually, I wanted to bend your ear about something else. I like bend your ear. She tells him directly, like Janet suggested, that all the writing that John did about her throughout her life was hurtful to her. He's like, what? Really? What possibly could I have written? Well, there's the one time where I'd gained a little weight and you called me Tahani all the meals. Well, that's just poetry.
All the meals.
Was it to Hammy? I didn't get that, Mr. Subtitles. Well, that's just poetry. We also learned that the reason Daniel Day-Lewis quit acting was because John said that he couldn't pull off bootcut jeans.
That's so funny.
And John, kind of rightfully, I guess, calls out Tahani because she's just being a fake friend, you know, buddying up with me so you can talk shit about me to my face. And Tahani tries to assure him, no, this wasn't a fake friendship. I care about you, and I want you to know that you've hurt people. Probably my favorite John line is him just going, "Buscuse me?" Buscuse me? I love that. I'm going to start using that.
Buscuse me?
Anytime.
Yeah.
Someone says something to you, you don't quite hear it. Buscuse me? It's got to be like angry. He doesn't think that Tahani has any right telling him to improve because she got to just fly through life getting everything that she wanted while he had to, even though he worked for a gossip column blog, we see his life in a different lens to know that he was living in the real world. He had these bills that he struggled to pay, and he had 16-hour work days to build his site and audience. Even if that's 16 hours a day working on a website, that's hard and that's taxing.
That's a lot.
And you see him in a different way when you know how much time he's putting into his work. And honestly, if you want to think about this, people like John, it's what sells to say all this catty shit. And if anything, he's like a good comedy writer who picked up on things like that. You know, sure, he hurt people, but he was working, you know, and he found his niche and it worked for him. Another great John line right after that. He follows it up with,
whoosh, that's another deuce for the gossip toilet.
It's time for Eleanor's big speech at the luau. And I love Eleanor's luau dress in the scene. She looks very pretty. We get a good place heaven activity that's new in this episode, that there's a magic lava stone that each of them will have, and they throw it to the middle and it'll erupt in flame and reveal the thing that their heart most exactly desires. So first we get a Janet baby named Matilda who throws her in, and a turtle shows up. It's funny that it's a turtle. It was her favorite childhood pet. Do you remember what the childhood pet's name was?
Shel Turtlestein.
Good job.
Shel Silverstein.
Jason, of course, says, "Oh man, I got to do that," and Chidi tries to hold him back. your truest actual desire could be anything. He's like, no, I got to do it. I know exactly what it's going to be. It's my old motorcycle with Pamela Anderson airbrushed on the side, which of course exploded a week later after pouring lighter fluid in the engine because he wanted to see what would happen.
Now, I couldn't remember if he actually got the motorcycle or if like Janet appeared, which I'm kind of glad that that's not the direction it went. Mm-hmm. But I also would have been understanding if that's the direction it did go.
That he was able to get it without having Janet and a little interaction between the two of them?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
That he threw the thing and instead of the motorcycle, Janet is what appeared because that was his utmost desire.
Aw, that would have been sad.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I get that point too, but I'm glad that it is just
I'm glad
a
that it was the
Jason
motorcycle.
Florida-ism. Yes. Mm-hmm. Jason says, maybe Jianyu the monk likes motorcycles. We don't know his life.
No monk's truest desire is a motorcycle with Pam Anderson's face painted on it.
Oh, it wasn't her face.
And we hear Michael, one of my favorite little Ted Danson deliveries, a sexually explicit motorcycle? Whose rock was that? And Chidi, in the silliest version of this we've ever seen, he steps up to take the blame. He says, oh, Jianyu threw my rock. He wanted to help me, his friend who loves motorcycles. It's so like basic improv. And Canadian TV actress Pamela Anderson. And now I will write it away. And he slowly scoots away on it.
Can't wait to take this baby on the open road.
Later on in the office, Eleanor is feeling great, wants to celebrate with some champagne, the success that they're having, but now Michael is on the team of maybe we're doing a little too much and we should be a little worried about Chidi. Who says call the magic ants? Michael or Eleanor?
Oh, no, Eleanor must say it.
Yeah, Eleanor says, let's toast, call those magic ants. But Michael is focused on Chidi. He doesn't want Chidi so freaked out that he's lying like he is right now and can't help other people. But Eleanor just wants to keep pushing. Knead his fragile psyche until he's hyperventilating and losing his mind. Then Chidi walks into the office. He says, I've got to tell you guys a secret, and starts hyperventilating and losing his mind.
I think that it's such a funny... I don't know. I like you said, this episode calls back so much to the beginning and like different people walking in and freaking out to someone. It was normally Eleanor walking into Chidi and freaking out about this or that, about, oh my God, I'm going to get caught because of this is going on. What do we do? And now it's Chidi who is being tortured for the first time in this afterlife, and now is coming into Eleanor and Michael. He's like, I don't have anyone else that I'm close to turn to like that. So yeah.
And just the opening and closing of doors is such a comedy concept, back to like comedy theater and to old sitcoms of just like, this thing won't ever happen, cut to door opening and thing happens, and it just works so well. And seeing alternative versions of something we have seen, but in a way that moves the story forward instead of feeling like we're stuck in a greatest hits type thing is really great. The line of ants starts coming in and they've got a big bottle of champagne and Michael whistles and says, no, not right now. Bad time.
Here's what I'll say.
You don't like that they showed it?
This was 2019.
Uh-huh.
Avatar was out years ago.
Uh-huh. You thought
several
it looked bad?
Things. This show has done CGI much better than they did the CGI.
I didn't think it was that bad.
I thought it looked pretty bad to me. Especially the shot of like the ant looking up and then turning its head.
No, I didn't think it was that bad. If anything, I liked that they told us about something 3 times and then we actually get the payoff and see it. I thought it was nice. I liked it.
I have no issue.
It seems like you do.
With the first shot of the ants and you see the bottles.
Like the trail of ants. It's the close-up ant.
I don't care for the shot of the underneath perspective.
And the close-up champagne bottle.
Yeah, of the close-up of the ant. It didn't work for me.
The close-up champagne bottle did look a little like CGI shiny, you know?
Yeah. And the ant looked bad. I've seen an ant up close, Zach, and that is not what ants look like to me. That is not inherent to Earth. I don't know where that ant is from. Maybe the Good Place ants look different. That is not my
Maybe so. Ant. Maybe the Good Place ants do look different. Check your privilege. Chidi confides in Michael and Eleanor that, you know, he was miserable in life and he always had a stomach ache. And for the first while in the Good Place, he was feeling really good. And all of a sudden it's starting to come back. This is when he says,
if I choose option A, but if I choose option B, No.
He just can't even say anything. He's so anxious. And Eleanor tries to keep him going and tells him, maybe you'll come out better on the other side of this moral dilemma. But Chidi snaps back and says, this doesn't feel like a moral dilemma. I know what a moral dilemma is. I love that. I live for that. This feels like I'm being punished. Chidi has a great line. This is his moment of, now hang on a second, guys. Something's not right here. Because it's Chidi, this moment looks different to him. But he says, look, I know this is the good place and you'd never do anything to make me feel bad, but I'm worried that I did something wrong and that this is the universe getting back at me. And we see Eleanor as he says this, and at first she's smiling, but sometimes when someone starts crying, at first it looks like they're smiling for a second, and she starts crying. Michael tries to step in and keep professionalism, but places a hand on Eleanor's shoulder. Chidi starts freaking out, oh my God, what's going on now? I made God cry? Well, here's a stomachache pounding in. What do you think of this as compared to some other Good Place classic emotional breakdowns? Do you think this is a good moment?
I think this is a really good one. This one didn't necessarily make me emotional, but I think that it was really, really well done and I think well earned. And I think it was a nice job of obviously they didn't bury the lead of we're going too hard on Chidi, but they did kind of bury the lead on why Eleanor was so gung-ho on it. I don't think it was super obvious on first watch that she's actively trying to get back at him for leaving her, but they do mention enough of it early on in the episode that the payoff is really good. That that's why, but
it feels unavoidable her to have a reaction like this. And you're right. You don't quite know exactly where her mind is right now, but just the thought of, this is the person you love most in the whole world. You're torturing them to distract you from them. And all of a sudden you're faced with that person telling you I'm in so much distress.
Yeah.
And that's if you love someone, that's going to make you cry.
Absolutely.
If you're I'm the one doing this, if you really care about that person, I think it works really well. Before we come back to that in a second, we get a moment of Tahani complaining to Janet about John. John is so petty. Why is he not getting better? He's so petty that he started a Twitter feud with Jacob Tremblay. And I fucking love this joke because Jacob Tremblay was 13 at the time. He was very young child actor. He's amazing in the film Room. I stand by that he should have been nominated for Best Supporting Actor or maybe even won that year for that movie because Brie Larson did win for that movie.
Don't disagree. He's voiced something recently, didn't he?
I forget what. But you're right. He was a voice actor in something, and I might have even watched it.
I think you did.
Oh, he was the voice of Flounder in Little Mermaid.
That's what it was.
Maybe that's what we're thinking of. Sure. It's clear that Janet is working through some stuff of her own, but they don't call too much attention to it. And that she's projecting when she tells Tahani, just punch him in the face. Just walk up. I'm fired up. I'm sorry. Tahani thinks that this isn't going to work because they're too different from one another. But as she begins to talk about how they're different, she comes around in a circle to how they've both lived jealous and miserable lives where they feel like they're on the outside looking in and that they have no friends. And she sees in a very mature way that's very Tahani 2.0 that, oh my God, we're not different. We're not so different, you and I. And I think it works really well the way she comes. I like that it's trial and error to come to these realizations. It's not after she does one thing. It's after she does 2 or 3 things. I really like that.
I agree.
She says, Janet, I've been going about this all wrong. Exactly. Here you go. Boop. And she has a boxing glove ready for Tahani. She says, no, I don't need that. And she grabs her shawl and leaves. Back to Chidi, who is pleading with Eleanor. Why is she crying? And Eleanor starts letting out that she feels like all of this is her fault and that she's broken a promise to care for Chidi. I really like Chidi's reaction of, here's a promise. Because to Chidi, he thinks that he's 1 in a million for Eleanor.
Yeah.
But why is she so desperately upset over this one person having trouble? So Michael steps in and says, well, architects, they worry about their people and their neighborhood is everything to them and their humans in it are everything to them. Then he takes Chidi more to the side and says, you know what? Don't worry about it. I've got a solution for you. We can just explode whatever you're upset about. Say you had a problem with that vase over there. Snap, blow up, it's gone. So just tell me what's bothering you. I'll wave my hand and I'll make it explode. And you can go back to your otherwise perfect life. It's so funny. It calls back again to Michael in season 1, being like, oh, I would never want you to have any problems. Here's a bigger problem I'll give you that you can just replace your problem with.
I also like the turn of how at the beginning of the season, or I guess the end of last season, Eleanor is the one who had to kind of fill in for Michael while he was freaking out. Now Michael's stepping up and doing what he should have been doing in the first place, which he fits in so naturally to this role of like, I'm torturing you, but I'm the helping hand that's going to give you anything that you, like you said. So I think I like that a lot.
Chidi takes a deep breath, and of course he can't say that Jason's the problem because he'll get exploded. So he says the problem's the motorcycle. You know, it's just not bringing me the joy that I thought it would. So Michael says, okay, and waves his hand. Love that we get a cut to Jason like staring at the motorcycle, clearly just having poured lighter fluid into the engine. It explodes, and Jason goes, aw, not again. Chidi tells Eleanor, it's kind of sweet because he doesn't know anything. He says, I hope you feel better. And he leaves, all frazzled, because this didn't help anything. Tahani goes to confront John. She has something to say. And she begins by dropping names and making John feel bad. She's like, I went to this party. I remember it was thrown by Serena Williams for Leonardo DiCaprio? Blake Lively. She was invited to this party, and she was taken to the VIP deck, and then from there, she was taken to a VIP room, and she had to have the pin, and then she realized once she got in that she's in here by herself, probably because she demanded to have the most VIP space at the party, and she was there by herself while everyone partied downstairs, and she never left because of her status, and she just stood there talking to nobody for the whole time. John says, ooh, riveting story, if only it were longer and sadder. Tahani cuts to the heart of it to him, and it's a line that's written really well and delivered really well by Jamila Jamil. She says,
the point is, if all you care about in the world is the velvet rope, you will always be unhappy no matter which side you're on. You and I are proof of that.
Yeah.
That's your truth bomb for the week from The Good Place, I think.
Yeah, I think that's great.
She pleads with him that they start over, and, you know, we're both here now. Why can't we be happy and start fresh? But John needs to get a few things off of his chest if he's going to do that. And it's that he really is sorry about everything he wrote about Tahani and tweeted and scrawled on the back of a Wicked playbill and had passed to her during intermission. Tahani is able to put that aside and says, you know, my bangs were making my ears look chunky. That's a fair hit. They leave. And they comment on how lovely the night is, and they, arm in arm, decide to take a walk together. It's a nice moment. Honestly, the John Tahani dynamic, for taking one of your main characters and putting her with a new character that takes her away from everybody else, they work so well together.
I agree. I think it's a cool match.
Like, I'd watch a couple episodes of this pairing.
Certainly.
Cut to Jason. He's shredding on a guitar, and Chidi comes up to him with a new plan. They're going to study ethics, and he's going to help Jason become a better person. So many great off-the-cuff Jason lines where he says, oh, yeah, I spent a lot of time at free clinics trying to become better, or trying to get better. And Chidi says, okay, editing my entire syllabus in my head based off that one comment you just made. This is a nice Chidi Jason moment when Jason says, you know, Chidi, you're great. You're like the Pamela Anderson motorcycle of people. Chidi's like, you know, because he kind of gets Jason a little better now. I understand how that's a really nice thing. Thank you. And I'm sorry that it exploded. Oh, that's okay, homie. That's just what motorcycles do.
That was maybe my favorite line in the episode. That's okay, homie. That's just what motorcycles do. So funny.
Now, Michael and Eleanor are able to sit in the office and take a little bit of a sigh of relief. And Michael says that, okay, Chidi's all set. And is able to ask Eleanor, okay, now how are you doing? She's better, but she still feels terrible. And she's kind of unpacked what she did this week. She knows that she was doing something that needed to be done, but is able to see that she went way too far with it. And she enjoyed doing it and torturing Chidi because she's angry at him. I think this is yet again, like the emotional moment. We don't quite know why, but it works. And then here, when she says she's angry with him, I think that unlocks new emotions to the situation. Yeah. She's not just like, oh, you gave up Ash. Oh, I'm sad you don't know who I am. She's angry that, yes, Chidi did the right thing, but part of that includes that you abandoned me.
And he agreed to do that.
And
I get it.
there's some foreshadowing to the end of the series, I think, with this decision as well. The choice to leave Eleanor for something better for himself and the greater good. And Eleanor is having trouble with that. And she's angry. And at first, yes, was having fun, kind of making his life miserable, because if you are going to do that to me, I'm not going to let you have fun.
Exactly.
But that's flawed and it's wrong. She's angry and she feels guilty. And she wants to talk to Chidi because that's who she goes to talk to when she feels those things. And it's different now and it's weird. Then I think Michael, who has a quiet episode, gives a moment very much like last week where he's just so understanding and so patient with Eleanor and explains, I don't get humans. And then he goes on to explain how he gets humans better than most humans do.
I still don't have a grip on the human emotional spectrum. You guys are often happy when you should be sad, and angry when you should be happy, and texting when you should be driving, which is not an emotion, I know, but it's insane.
He tells Eleanor that you have the right to be angry, even with everything else still being true, and you deserve the space to process it and to act out from it, but it doesn't change that you also have to get your shirt together because there's work to do. And I think, wow, what a good friend to pull you out of and be like, what you're feeling is valid. Take your time to feel it. Be angry. Go white boy punch a hole into the wall. But there is progress to be done.
Yeah.
You are in charge of something important. So take your space to grieve your relationship, but don't let it affect this.
I like that a lot. Good friendship moment by Michael once again.
We're just about to the end of the episode. Tahani steps into the office with Jason. Another great Tahani line in an episode that's kind of full of them. She says, anyone want a status report? I win. I mean, I'll start. And she takes John's picture off the board and puts it on the figured out side. He's not going to be in the ethics class, but she feels confident that she's figured out a different angle to make things work for John. Maybe the ethics class isn't always the number one answer. For John, it seems like the thing is to make genuine human connection with people and to make friendships instead of just commenting on people from afar, which I think is cool.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this is a really cool thing for Tahani, especially after she was kind of the one who Eleanor heard saying maybe she should be replaced as the leader. I like Tahani stepping up and kind of doing her part as well as one of the arcs of the story. Yeah,
and just in time when we were starting to miss her from the main plot line, here she is. So she's going to spend a lot more time with John, become close with him. They're going to unironically watch Crossroads together, and it's going to be a huge step in the right direction. Trust me, she says. I got this. Then Jason is given a moment of recognition for the group. Does it feel like this episode is missing a scene where Jason is made clear what his objective is? We only see him doing it. We skip the scene because they are like, hey, we need to help. We need you to save humanity. But they don't tell him what the thing is. And he says, okay, I understand what I'm doing. Because here in the end of the episode, even though he says something stupid, they give him this moment of recognition. Everybody pats him on the back. It's a good moment for Jason. But I would have liked a moment earlier in the episode where we see some type of plotting on Jason's side.
See, I didn't feel that watching the episode that it was missing anything, but I can see how, like, just going through the story, if that's not there. I guess in my mind, they must have told him, like, off screen.
Right. But I kind of would have liked to have seen it because I feel like Jason's getting credit when all we've seen is him do what he usually does. I would have liked just a line where he's like, I know what to do, and then cut to him, like, interrupting Chidi right away.
I could work with
that. He says, but, thank you. I've had a few tough weeks, and it feels good to finally feel brainy and of useness.
I get that.
The episode ends. Everyone's feeling nice. They all take a breath, and they've got all 4 of the humans on the right path. So what's next? Which is never a good thing to say if you're in a stressful position. If you're like, everything seems figured out, what's next? You never want to be there. There's something coming. And as the guy who's always like, I wish this episode ended on a little tease, I feel just okay about this tease because it's just like a hooded guy on a thing pushing himself down the entire railroad track. We see these got so much farther to go.
Yeah.
I think it's too vague for me to feel scared for the people. I think they could have ended this episode with a, wow, we really did it, guys. But we know that there's something.
Do you remember who it is?
I don't. I imagine it's the doorman or the judge or Sean or something.
I think I remember who it is.
I don't remember. And I'm excited to see, but I think it makes the episode feel like it just ends instead of ending with this big climactic push to the next episode. Like it feels like it ends like the last one did, where it's just Dad Ash and then it ends. And this one could have ended that way because I think it earned it. But then the little flash at the ending, I think I needed maybe to see who it was or to hear a voice or to something. I'm not sure.
Fair.
What do you think as we wrap up our discussion of the episode? Because that is the end of our discussion on Chillaxing.
I think that this is a really good episode. I mean,
I agree.
This show at this point knows how to... It has earned our trust in what the story is doing.
Yes.
You know, and so I think it earned the right to take an episode where, okay, we're going to develop these relationships, develop these characters, reestablish what everyone's role is in this new experiment before everything goes to shit in another couple episodes, inevitably. You know, so I like this episode quite a bit. I like how much is it focused on Tahani and John. I like the Chidi stuff. I think it's a good episode for pretty much everyone this week, even though like Janet and Michael don't get as much screen time when they're there.
Janet's got a streak of red hair.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you're so right that the first part of this final season, they're not afraid. They only got 13, 14 episodes if you include the two-parter at the end of the series. They've only got so many episodes in their season, but yet they've taken like 3 episodes to make sure that we really know why we're here and how everyone feels about the way that the deck has been shuffled this time. Maybe even more so than in the past reboots. Like we really know how this is affecting personally every character. And I like that because not only are things about to go to shit, things are also about to start moving towards a climax and towards an ending. And I think it's important to think about how we got here and why we're here and how everybody feels and to take stock of what we've got before the next big final shakeup. And I don't remember everything about how the experiment goes to shit. I more remember how the story ends for our main characters.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens in the next 8 or whatever episodes.
Me too.
I think this is a good episode, and the second watch made me like it more, and talking through it made me like it more. I think it's funny, and I think it does really great character work all across it.
I agree.
And in an episode that does great character work, was it tough for you? Do you have thoughts? Good place, bad place. Let's do it.
It actually wasn't tough for me this week. I had pretty stern thoughts on each of the 2.
Okay. Well, then give me your bad place.
So my bad place this week is not someone that I think is a bad person, but it's someone who I think demonstrates the biggest swing of bad place points this week, even though it comes with a justified reason.
Yes.
I gave it to Eleanor this week. I think that she leans in too hard, even when people that know what's going on tell her, like, try and warn her. I think she leans into it and pushes Chidi maybe a little bit too far. In the end, she got the result she wanted, so did she really push him too far? But, you know, I think that the reason she was doing it weren't because she knew it would get an effect out of him, but it was to get back at him for making this decision. So that's why Eleanor's in my bad place this week.
This is a great episode for character motive. Everybody has a reason for what they're doing. And even Eleanor, who I'll give it to, you understand why, and you can't say you wouldn't do the same thing that she's doing. However, you work down the list and you're like, well, Tahani does a pretty good job. Yeah. John, we understand on a deeper level because of how he feels. Michael's doing a good job as a friend. Even Jason is causing chaos, but doing his part and doing his best after having himself brought down. I think it does have to be Eleanor, unfortunately, but I don't think she's going to be getting many this season. I think she's good in the long run.
I think it's going to balance out,
But she gets some points. I guess I'll kick off with a good place. And I think I have to give it to Chidi. I think Chidi's got a really good episode, both in how he handles Jason with Jason and how he handles it with Michael and Eleanor, not knowing how they're pulling the strings around him. I think he does good by letting himself let his hair down, and then I think he does good by handling stress, even if he's as stressed as anyone could possibly get. He handles stress in the right way and doesn't sit with it too long. I think I can give it to Chidi this week.
I think Chidi has an excellent episode and displays so many good place things, but I have to give it to Tahani this week.
Sure.
Not only because what she does is good, but her motives were good from the beginning. She's setting out and doing these things with John, not so she can be pampered and have a spa day, but so that she can give him a taste of the life that she knows that he was on the outside of to help him improve as a person. And then she looks within herself and says, okay, I see where I have fallen short and where I can recognize that we're not different. We're two sides of the same coin. So I'm going to be really honest with him about how lonely I felt in my super exclusive world. Yeah. And so that we can bond over that and do things genuinely together with no motive. And I think that earns Tahani a lot of points for me this week. So I think an excellent Tahani showing.
Strong honorable mention. Good choice. Yeah. Good choices. Good episode.
Good choices all the way
this
around,
is a good episode. And I'm excited because next week we'll keep it going to talk about episode 4 of season 4. We don't have to argue about that this season. I can just say it's episode 4.
Straightforward.
And you don't go, actually, because there were
issues.
2 episodes this time. And really, they've been 2 episodes every time.
Well,
but next week we'll be back to talk about episode 4 of season 4, Tinker, Tailor, Demon, Spy. And Demon and Spy being in that title makes me feel like this threat that seems miles and miles away is going to be a big part of next week's episode, which I'm looking forward to. Let's get this going.
Yeah, let's do it. I think this is one of the big conflicts of the season, I believe, is about to start. So
good.
Looking forward to it. Mm-hmm.
Well, Steven, it's been so fun to get back into the weekly swing of the podcast. We did a supersized episode about a great episode of The Good Place. I got like my emotional trauma off my chest at the beginning. This pygmy's just scratching at my ankles, trying to get me to let it outside. So maybe we should wrap this
little
up.
Bites. Well, let's do it.
Before that.
You know, Zach, when you say wrap it up, I wrap it up. So you gotta give a different segue because you
That's
do
true.
the first thing here.
You're right. I do
so
usually do the first thing because
up.
we've given you a lot to chew on this week. But if you'd like more Zach and Steven, we do a lot of stuff over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. We're starting at $5 a month. You can get all of the exclusive content we do. You can hang out with us live before we record the podcast every week. You can get the basement. You can get this podcast a week early, the same day we record it. And you can support a little podcast, the little podcast that could. You can support it with just $5 a month over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. And I want to give, actually, now that I am giving my shout outs, I want to give 2 personal shout outs. Number 1, that I just opened up a Fiverr page. I can now officially be hired to edit your podcast. If you would like to edit,
do you just do that, or like will you do whatever I pay you to do on Fiverr? Like if
I'll
I'm
do
like,
whatever
hey,
you pay me
no
to do, but it'll be free of charge.
Edit, but I need you to give me a couple dick ratings this week. Would you do that?
Yes.
Okay.
It's pricey, but yes. No, if you have a podcast, whether it's an established one or it's a new one and editing feels really hard and like something that keeps you from making your podcast, I feel like I've put decent prices up over on Fiverr and I will take care of all of that for you. I don't have a link prepared, but if you look up Fiverr, Zachary Pruitt, you'll find me. Give me some money. And the other thing, I want to shout out one of our podcast friends, the Hop-Ons podcast. They're still a community rewatch podcast. We made friends with them through doing our community rewatch podcast. Colin, one of their hosts, was on our show a couple of times. They are ending their podcast. They've done 3 shows. They did Arrested Development, then they did Twin Peaks, and now they did Community, all as the Hop-Ons podcast. So like after 6 years or so, they're ending their podcast with the final season of Community. Yes, congratulations to them for their run and a sad farewell to a show that I enjoy listening to every week. And if you miss hearing us talk about Community every week, I think you would like what they do over there. And they just started their final season doing season 6 of Community. So go show the Hop-Ons a little love from Zach and Steven while they're still around. Steven, where else can the people find us?
If you want to fill our acoustics with wet cat food, come over and stick your hand up inside of us over on Twitter and Instagram over at Time Knife Pod. You're also able to find us on YouTube, find the video companion to this podcast, see Zach's cute shirt, see Bart and Gooby getting it on back there. See if you can bend your head down to see if the figure behind me has accurate panties on. You'll never know.
I see the stockings.
Yeah, she got some boots on with some stockings underneath. But go check us out on YouTube. Search the name of the show. You'll see all that you need to see there. But yeah, come check us out. Come watch us. Come smack that that like button, just headbutt that subscribe, and then
If you
tap the
haven't
bell to
done
get
it yet,
notified.
review any of our shows wherever you listen to our shows. Like, all of those little things help. Share the show
Yeah.
if you like it. Give it a review. Give it a like on Facebook. All that stuff. I have no notes, Steven. Get us out of here.
For real, I wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. From
No,
inside.
clearly I was not telling you to end the show. I won't do it again.
From
Please, Steven.
inside.
No, please. Please.
From
Please don't let me be the reason that you can't
Inside the
successfully
timeline.
land the plane of the show.
Black Lives Matter. All cops are bad.
Yes. Honestly, I'll be screaming that for my whole life. I would have already, but even like every cop. Boo!
Yeah.
I'm Zach.
Ooh. I'm Steven.
And we love you very much. We'll see you next Monday. Have a great week.
Toodaloo.